Have you ever asked yourself what would happen if an amateur faces a very strong super grandmaster? Well, you might have seen amateurs playing grandmasters, and very often the grandmasters would win, but the game wouldn't be that smooth. At least this is my experience. And in Barcelona, in a very recent tournament which is still ongoing, the very strong super grandmaster Dominguez was facing an amateur, and the super grandmaster Dominguez had the white pieces, and the following position next to me appeared in the game. What would you play in this position? And if you want to see the solution, make sure to stay until the end. This being said, let's just go to the game. Dominguez, the super grandmaster, plays first e4, black responds with c6, d4, d5, so we have a Caro-Kann, and Dominguez decides to go for the advanced variation with e5. Now black has basically two plans. One is either c5 or the very old and solid bishop to f5, and this is what was played in the game. Knight to f3, e6, bishop e2, and now we have a so-called short variation. c5, and black is attacking the center immediately. White just continues the development. Queen to b6, attacking the b2 pawn. Well, white doesn't mind and plays knight to c3. Now, of course, taking on b2 is very dangerous due to the move queen to b1, and taking on c3 loses due to bishop to d2, because now the queen is basically trapped. So let's say queen to a3, and then would follow queen takes b7, a very unpleasant position for black, and he's completely lost. Let's go back. So trying to play for the piece on c3 is not working. Therefore, black usually should exchange on b1, but still rook takes b1, and the position is much better for white, although black is up a pawn in the moment. So let's say b6, d takes c5, and b takes c5. A move like bishop takes c2 can always be answered with the very unpleasant rook to c1. Now the bishop has basically to go back, and then follows bishop to b5 check, or even knight to b5, and the king is trapped in the center. Not very pleasant. But in the game, black played better. He played knight to c6, putting more pressure in the center, towards the center. White castled, and now queen takes b2, and of course now there is a slightly difference, because after a move like queen to b1, there would be queen takes b1, rook takes b1, and black can just castle. And now you see the pawn is protected, and there's not much white can do, because taking here also doesn't work due to the very dangerous d4 move, and now white has great issues. So let's go back. In the game, a much better move was played by Dominguez, of course, a very strong player. Queen to e1, defending the knight, and also getting the queen to a better square, so after queen takes c2 or bishop takes c2, the queen is not attacked. Now taking on c2 is very dangerous due to d takes c4, and suddenly black must watch out for queen traps, like knight to b5, and then the other knight to d4 would be an idea, and also there are these checking ideas. So let's say black just wasted tempo with h6, and follows already knight to d4, queen to b2, and the position is lost here because this pawn structure is just bad and the queen is on a very bad square. Additionally, this square is very weak, so knight to b5 would already be winning. Let's take a look at another line where actually white can trap the queen. Bishop to g4, rook to b1, and now let's see the position after long castle, because now a move like knight to b5 is working. Now let's waste the tempo for black, and now suddenly knight to d4 is winning the queen, because moves like queen to a4 obviously do not work well here. So let's say queen a3, rook b3, queen takes a2, bishop takes on c6, pawn takes c6, and queen to c3. And now you can see this position doesn't look very promising in the long run. Let's say, I don't know, king to d7, and not only a3 is threatening against rook a3, maybe there would be queen c4, but also rook to a1. So as mentioned, this simply doesn't work well. And now let's go back to the game. Instead of queen takes c2, c4 was played. Then followed rook to b1, queen takes c2, and now white can actually win the queen by playing bishop to d1. However, this is combined with a lot of risks, because after queen takes the defended rook on b1, the issue is that the white pieces aren't well coordinated. So let's play out this line. Queen takes b1, knight takes b1, bishop takes b1, and now let's say a passive move like bishop to e2, attacking the bishop on b1, then might follow knight to g6, and after knight to h4, bishop b4, queen c1, knight g2, e7. Black is well coordinated and might have a few passed pawns on the queen side, or maybe this and this pawn. Very unpleasant for white. Therefore, white should play the much more active bishop a4, and then bishop to d3, for example, and queen to a5 with the idea of queen c7, and the knight cannot take because it is pinned. But let's go back to the game. So instead of bishop to d1, white decided to play something else, and this is the main line. Rook takes b7, then follows long castle by white. And before we discuss this move, let's take a look at another move, or another moves actually. Knight to b4 was played once and isn't good because of bishop to d1. Other moves are bishop to b4, and here Karjakin had a game against the very strong Czech Grandmaster Lasnička, where he took with the rook on b4. Knight takes b4, bishop d1, and again the queen is not well placed. Queen to d3, bishop to a4 check, and now as you can see, white is down in exchange, but the king is trapped in the center after king to f8. And a way to exploit this position is queen to a1, and this idea is very common in these structures. The queen is heading towards b2, from where it can participate in the attack against the opponent's king. So now let's go back. In the game, instead of these moves, as I've mentioned, long castle was played. So a better try, and the only correct move here, is rook to b8, then follows rook takes b8, knight takes b8, and white might be slightly better here. But let's follow with the game. So queenside castle, and now rook to b7, b5, rook from b7 to b5, bishop to b4, and of course the solution is rook takes b4, knight takes b4, and queen to a1. Now the queen again is heading towards b2, and white will just drive the queen away from c2 and get his queen to b2. But in the game, knight takes a2 was played, then followed knight takes a2. Now, for the moment, white has 4 minor pieces, and rook queen versus 2 minor pieces, queen and 2 rooks. So 2 pieces for a rook, not very good for black. But what should black play here? Well, black could play a move like queen to a4 and just claim that the position is worse, but he will try to defend it. Or queen takes e2, and in this position, in the beginning, you were asked what you would play here. And the move which was played here is knight to b4, taking away all the squares of the queen, all the remaining squares. Rook to d7 was played, and after rook e1, queen takes e1, knight takes e1, black decided to resign. A very interesting but short game. I hope you liked it and enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you want to see more of such content, feel free to subscribe. And if you like this video, the suggested video here will be pretty fascinating for you. See you in the next video.